How you guys doing? Afternoon. Appreciate everyone who's here and checking out the show. I'm Molina Mike, and it's going to be a fun one. The guest I got on is playing a pretty big matchup coming up in the next few weeks. So we're going to talk about that, and he's a Hall of Famer. And yeah, whatever other topics we dive into. So I'm not going to keep him in the back for too long. Let me know in the chat if you're able to go and hear me, if the audio is coming through. Hopefully it is. And if it's not, then we'll adjust. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. He's known to the by the freezer to most. Scott Frost. Scott, I appreciate you coming on. How are you, buddy?
Good, Mike. Thank you. How are you, man? You good?
I'm doing good. Yeah, doing real good, doing real good. Trying to enjoy this summer, and I know you're out there in Arizona doing some fireworks stuff, and I'm sure the heat's been brutal on you as it is down here in South Texas, man.
I heard it's hot everywhere. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little warm out here. It's a little warm. Valleypyro.com, by the way. If you guys want to go there, check us out.
What can they get from you, Scott, if they're in the area?
Some good stuff. We carry it all divides into counties, and we work out of a county where it's legal to hold what we hold. So we hold mortars and cakes and bigger stuff, and we also have stuff for the kids. So we have a wide variety, and that's why we're so good. My partner Sean Brooks and his wife Laura, they work really hard on the website and to keep everybody posted, hours of operation. They're back east taking care of their father who's really sick, and we were going to skip this season. I'm like, no. I'll do this myself. I probably bit off a lot more than I could chew, but we got a new location, and I'm working like 10 hours a day and no relief. But it's worth it, man. I mean, you got to make money, right?
I like it. I like the no excuse attitude. You do what you got to do, and we
Yeah,
wish him and his family all the best, of course, and all the success out there. I know Fourth of July is a busy one. I'm getting ready to take off with my family here in a couple of days, and we're gonna go and hang out by the water and just relax. And I don't want to say
nice.
forget about pool because I'm sure I'll be working while I'm gone next week. But speaking of fireworks, Scott, let's just jump right into it. There's a big matchup coming up with you and the kid, and I got to tell you, man, I was pretty surprised when I
Who
heard
is
it.
that?
That's what I want to know. He may have won a few things in the last 6 months or so, and
He's just a kid, man. He's just a kid.
well, let's talk about the kid because it's a really the matchup was surprising, Scott, because it seems like he's got a lot more upside than you do because you have a big resume and a lot of history. You're a Hall of Famer, and Fedor's kind of we don't know where to go and peg his game. What made you decide to go and take this matchup on?
Well, I mean, it was last minute, right? It was pretty last minute, and I can talk about this. I think that Federer had another match schedule with another well-known player, and I'm not going to go into details there, but that match flopped right at the last minute, and it wasn't, from what I understand, on Federer's end. And the people, I spent a lot of time around the people that are behind Federer, the Sword Brothers, and people know that. They used to stake me against Efren, and when I was kind of towards the end of my prime, they jumped on board and they came on scene, and we became very close. And they reached out to me and said, "Listen, we couldn't think of a better person." Federer was going to play for a lot more money, right? He was going to play a huge set with somebody for a big number, and they thought that they couldn't think of a better person for Federer to play if they switched the game up, and that's kind of how it happened, right? They're like, would you be willing to play Federer set for this amount of money? It doesn't have to be a lot of money, and I know to a lot of people, 10,000 is a lot of money. And trust me, I'm not saying it's not. I could use 10,000
It's all
right now.
relative, though, right? We've been seeing a lot of
It
big numbers in
is. I
matchups
mean,
lately.
when you get used to playing for a lot more money, it's different. But it is all relative, especially this day and age when gas is 3,200 a gallon. You know, so that's how it kind of came about, and immediately I've been studying Federer's one pocket game. Like I'm really, because I love Federer, and I think we all love watching Federer play pool. I personally believe that he's got the opportunity to be the best player to ever walk the face of the planet, right? And when I say that, I'm talking about all games, his mechanics, his attitude, and everything else that goes with it just
That's a big
leads to,
statement, Scott. That's a big
yeah.
statement. I remember reading Omega's post talking about Federer, and they mentioned Jordan in there, and I kind of got a bit of a chuckle, right, relative to Poole, and
Sure.
and I know he's young and I know he's accomplished, and I'm a big fan of Federer, but it seems a little premature, Scott. At least
I
on my
agree.
end.
The reason I say this, though, is like I said, I've studied him and I've talked to his people behind the scenes many times. And I know his work ethic. And
Sure.
I also know that there is no distractions for this kid. Like,
Right.
it's just not going to happen. Whereas, and I'm not going to knock it, but I'm going to tell it like it is, man. American players seem to get distracted. And it's true. They seem to get distracted. We're talking about a kid that's coming from Russia, right? He's lucky to be here in the States. He knows this. He's lucky to be with the people he's with. He also knows this. But I mean, the guy exercises daily, doesn't talk about it, but he actually gets paid to exercise. He's got some type of deal where, he walks a certain amount of miles and he gets paid for it. But my point to this is he's just living the right life, like the completely right life. In this day and age with social media and everything else, all the possible distractions, I don't see anybody more focused than him. I don't see anybody doing better life things than he is. And the funny thing is that he's been doing this, right? This isn't something that just happened because he's gotten better. He's not partying. He's not drinking. His head has gotten a little bigger, but it's impossible not for his head to get bigger. I mean, he's
When you're
got
winning
to.
like that, it's tough not to.
You've got to have that. I mean, that goes hand in hand, and people, I don't think they take him as a cocky player by any means. He's very humble and quiet in the forefront amongst us players. He's got a little snap to him, but he should have, right? I
But it's
think
different. He's not that 17-year-old kid anymore who's who think, or like who a lot of people maybe were saying he can do this or he can do that. Like he won a lot of events in Derby, Scott. He's a world champion now.
yes,
He's accomplished now at such a young
absolutely.
age.
And for himself, for himself, right? That 17, 18-year-old kid, I was around him when he first came over here. I was betting on him. I was watching his downfalls, and he didn't know himself, right? And when you're going through that stage, you don't know yourself whether you can believe the shit that you're selling yourself or not. You don't know that you can believe it until you actually do it. And to watch him transition into, yeah, I can do what I believe I can do was pretty powerful. And I honestly think he's just scratching the surface. I really do. I mean, I'm a pretty good handicapper, right? Like I know quite a bit about the game, and I can foresee a lot of the future with a lot of these guys. And I don't speak on it much, but I'll speak on this one because I'm playing him. I don't know. It's hard for me to look at this match as a major deal. It's more for Federer probably than it is for me, obviously. Um,
Well, let me
I'm
ask you,
looking
like,
forward to it.
if y'all are playing at some obscure pool room, in Middle America, is that game even? Like, if they come to you and ask you
Absolutely.
one play, you think that
Absolutely.
game's even right now?
Absolutely. But there's so many things that come into factor, right?
For
Like
sure.
there's so many things that come into factor. Like the Shane Van Boening and Chip match also. I mean, I can't stress enough how big pocket size has to do with each individual one pocket match. Like
Right.
it's very important, right? Because if you play on pockets 4 1/4, those are very forgiving pockets for a 9 ball player, right? If you play on pockets that are 4 1/8, those are actually favoring a guy that's going to move better, in my opinion, or has more confidence in that part of the game
Like a Scott Frost.
that can control the game better. So this goes for anybody. It's kind of black and white, right? So and we won't transition into this, but Chip Compton and Shane Van Boening. Now, don't get me wrong, Shane's a world champion, but if he's not playing one pocket for 2 or 3 months straight, and he goes to a 4 and 8 table versus Chip, I'm betting on Chip. I mean, I'm just betting on Chip. There's no way around it. But if he's going to a 4 1/4, there's that much difference, right? And it does come down to that much when these guys are gambling, and that's negotiated in these matches. Best believe it, right?
Is it that like risk reward that is constantly being weighed by you guys as you're going and measuring the different options on the table?
Well, I think it's standard amongst most of us top players, top one pocket players, and I don't even know if I can still put myself in that category at 93 years old, but I think it's standard that we know if we're going to play a shooter, we would rather have tighter pockets so that we can gain control to get the balls up table. We can gain more control on holding them from the run out. We can gain more control on moving and getting to the shot before they can. It's hard to get to the shot before they can when you've got bigger pockets and they take a bank that you would never take. So that's the difference there, right? To keep a guy like Fedor or Shane off the shot will probably take a little bit more than it would take against your average top one pocket player on 4 1/4 pockets. It's
Right.
kind of a deep thing, right? But if you're playing on 4 1/8
Yeah.
pockets, you know what the guy you're about to play shoots. When you're playing a guy like Fedor and a guy like Shane, especially Fedor at this day and age, because I don't think he's near seasoned, you don't really know how to defend it. And so 4 1/4 could really show up to where he's just going to rifle a straight back and run 310 balls on me, right?
We're
Over and
touching
over and
base.
over.
We're touching base on a lot of different things, but while we're on it, and then I'm going to transition back to the match. Where do you put Shane? Where do you put Shane in the grand scheme of things when it comes to one pocket, Scott?
I mean, I hate this. This to me, this is just ridiculous, right? Like I, it all depends, right? It all depends. So when Shane won the back-to-back one pockets at Derby, man, I'll tell you what, he was gambling a lot playing one pocket. There was less big events out there. He was gambling a lot playing one pocket. When Shane is playing the game, he's up there with anybody. He's up there with anybody. His execution and his cue ball is as good as anybody, as we know. And nowadays, if you're having standard pockets like 4 1/4, I mean 4 1/4's 4 1/2 is just too big for any pro on any freaking
Playing one,
tour,
yeah, yeah, but especially
in
playing
my
one pocket.
in my opinion. And the pros agree with that. I mean, we know these companies coming out with tables, and it's okay. I mean, I get it, and change is okay, but 4 1/2 is just too big. Now, maybe they want it for the fans. I don't know, but Shane's up there, man. He's definitely up there. I'm not putting a number on myself. I'm not putting a number on Shane, but he's definitely up there.
Okay, so since you're dodging the number, who's going to win between Chip and Shane then? Who do you like?
What size pockets are they playing on?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so then,
See if somebody in the chat can tell us that, and I'll give you my answer immediately. And I'll bet on that match. You
well,
just
just
give
knowing
me.
Shane, I'm gonna say it's probably 4 1/4, and I know Chip doesn't necessarily like it, especially tight
I'll bet on
himself.
Shane. I'll bet on Shane.
Yeah,
Mhm.
is it just because of the run out ability and he's got enough experience to like get there with Chip because Chip's a grinder. You know this firsthand.
Absolutely. And let me tell you something about that as well. Chip's game is really. I mean, Tony just beat him by what, 2 or 3 games,
Yeah, three.
giving him 9-8 even. Listen, 9-8 and even is a reason to lose. That is no spot. And
Right, I
I
agree.
watched I watched that whole match, right? Chip's, I don't care what anybody says, and Chip knows it, and I've told Chip this. He beat me hill. I was up 9 games, and we played over 5 days, and the match was supposed to be 4 days, but it just went way longer, and I did get exhausted. But man, his game's really come up. So I just
Well, let me ask you,
it
Scott,
doesn't
because
matter because you
when
can't
you got
defend yourself. You can't defend yourself against a guy like Shane or a guy like Fedor when the pockets are at a certain size. It's
right, but when you
I'm
have
not
a guy
saying you
like
can't.
Chip
Of course
who
you can, but there's going to be a point where this guy's like, you know what? I'm not doing this tip tap, nip tuck. I'm
right,
going to shoot this bank and run some balls. And the minute that starts happening, the momentum and transition in that entire match will switch, and it does
right.
every time.
But Shane's the epitome of a rotation player with a lot. Sorry about my dogs. Shane's the epitome of a rotation player with this much patience. So when you have a
Oh no,
style
no, no,
like
no.
like like, well, yeah,
Shane's
but
got patience.
you but
I
you
played
think
him for 36 straight hours. in
But
Vegas.
you
We
think
played
how
36
long
straight
ago was
hours.
that though, Scott? Because Chip's got a different level of grind than your average
But
player to
Chip
go and
can't
squeeze out
Chip
games.
can't hold him to that grind if the pockets are at 4 1/4. That's my whole
Okay.
point.
Okay.
The whole
Okay.
table's designed around whether Chip is a. That's why I guarantee you Chip doesn't like the 4 1/4. I guarantee it. The whole match is designed around, can Chip hold him to that grind at 4 with 4 1/8? I guarantee you he can. But 4 1/4, Shane's going to find things. That's what Shane's great at. It's not necessarily the patience. Shane's not going to shoot at anything that is absolutely outrageous, but he's going to shoot at something that gives him the highest percentage of winning the game. His percentage of shooting that shot goes way down when you take that pocket from 4 1/4 to 4 1/8. Those percentages drop dramatically. They do.
How
I
much
mean,
does it
it's
weigh
that
on
big.
you, like playing a guy that shoots as straight as Shane or a guy who shoots as straight as Fedor? Whenever you're going and weighing whether or not you want to, try to put that ball in the hole. How much is it on your mind?
No, that once the match starts, all that goes away, and training and what you are there to do takes over. But that could also be another issue because you're playing the same style that you know best that wins, right? So uh, at some point, if Shane makes something that he's probably not supposed to, and it wobbles in, and he runs out, and Chip knows that he wasn't supposed to shoot that shot, it can affect you. Of course, it can probably affect him. But going into the match, I mean, the minute he starts, he's going to try. I mean, he's not going to be focused on that. I'm just saying, overall, the broad scale, the big picture is that there should. What I'm trying to say is there should be a standard for one pocket, and it should be 4 1/8. But I'm never going to get that, right? Because not every pool room can have 8 4 1/8, 8 4 1/2, 8 4 1/4. It just isn't going to work. But a standard pocket with the top guys in these feature matches should be 4 1/8, and it's not that difficult. We have two of them in our room. We have a ton of them in this town. We have probably literally 10 of them in this town. They're 4 1/8.
Well, let's talk about the match you got coming up, Scott, and the specifics of it. So, what kind of table are y'all going to be playing at in Kentucky?
It's a diamond, and I believe it's 4 1/4. Yeah.
Pretty ironic, Scott.
Yeah. It's a newer diamond, which I love the comfort of playing on a table like that. I just know that the consistency is there. I mean, diamonds are proven tables, but there and again, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about me and or Fedor in my match. I do have a game plan, and I have, I watched a lot of his play in New Orleans. Don't get me wrong. I think he took fourth, or I don't know, maybe fifth,
Top five,
sixth.
at least top
But I
five, I think.
watched him play Alex Calderon that 5 hour set. After Alex Calderon and I played our 5 hour set, and they're just. I mean, it's just hard to say how this match is going to go. I think that's the beauty of it, right? It's hard to say how it's going to go because this kid's still evolving every minute, and his cue ball is so good that I don't know what it's going to be like until we play. I've played 2 tournament sets with him. I've lost both, but I will say I have not played to my potential at all. I was not in the right frame of mind the last one at all. But I think it'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting. But the pocket size at the highest level has so much to do with what style you need to play, and it really does.
What preparation, or can fans go and expect from you leading up to the match, Scott? What are you doing to get ready?
Well, in about 25 to 30 minutes, I'll be driving. 40 minutes, I'll be at a fireworks lot till about midnight. After that, I'll go practice for about 19 hours. And then, no, I mean, I've played a lot of pool lately. And I made a post about this, and I truly believe that this is a possibility because it's happened to me many times in the past. I tend to burn myself out. I'm a workhorse. I like to work, and when I start doing something, I might do too much of it. So I think this little hiatus, like it's going to be a week. that I'm not really playing every day. You know, I'm going to hit some balls. I might sneak some balls in here and there. But, you know, I was just at Buffalo's. I was gambling for several days. I was there for a week after that. Then I come here and played quite a bit. My preparation's good. I think that when I put this fireworks stand up and I'm switch the mindset, I'm going to be super excited. I'm going to be super excited to go back that direction. I love the people out there. Jason and Alan Sword are friends of mine, always will be. I love Greg Sullivan and everything that comes with the people out in that area. It just gives me that derby vibe. And then Kyle with Railbird Billiards, you know, I heard this is a new pool room out there, and it's supposed to be really a really cool pool room.
It's going to be exciting. I think it stylistically, you know, it makes for an intriguing matchup because Federer, people want to know where he's really going to go and land as far as being a great one pocket player. And I think you're a great a great barometer of that because they're going to be able to tell. We know what you're going to go and bring to the table, and we know what his strong suit is. He can bank the balls really good. He can run out. We all saw him at Derby just put on quite a show that just never seemed to end with
Yeah.
event after an event. What kind of talent is Federer from from your mindset, having been in the game for as long as you've been in there, Scott?
I don't think the world's seen his talent. I think he's that other evolution. I don't think the world's seen his talent, right? He's so non-flamboyant. He's so, unless he's jumping a ball, he's so simplistic and so smooth that his abilities tend to slip past people as they're watching him, right? Like he's so smooth and makes it look so easy. And he's so mechanical that his abilities tend to slip past you as you're watching him. And I don't care who you are. It happens to me when I'm watching him. I think he's a new evolution of pool. I think that, and he knows that. I think he knows that. I think that he can do things that, now I'm not talking about 5 or 6 U.S. Opens, but overall, like a feat like that Shane's done is absolutely amazing. But overall, I think the things that he can accomplish have not yet been seen in the pool world. And it's already showing. The only thing I think, in my opinion, that could stop him, barring this, and I don't even want to bring it on him, is an injury or some type of a major distraction that he couldn't foresee. You know, I really think that'll happen.
And I think a lot of people agree with you, Scott, and I think that's what makes him just really dangerous. And I don't want to say that's why I was surprised when I seen this matchup, but me and Joey kind of brought it up. I think right around when we're talking Buffaloes. And I would have thought, just knowing, the Sword brothers, and how savvy they are when it comes to, their horse matching up, I would have figured they would have played someone not as dangerous as you.
They're doing this for a reason. I promise you.
I believe you 100%. It was just surprising. I maybe would have thought they would have, chosen to go after maybe someone, and I don't mean this with any disrespect, but maybe someone who isn't playing as well as you are lately.
And that's the beauty of this as well, is Fedor's not a hustler. The reason Fedor's where Fedor's at.
The word's out on him now.
but the reason he's where he's at is that, and I hate saying it like they've got a leash on him, but the Sword brothers just let him go, right? The Sword brothers are there for support, mental support, and they've got money, right? That's great. But once Fedor's got his own money, he really doesn't need them. He's always going to have them. Because right. they've got this, and they're like family, but right. They want Fedor to have what Fedor wants, and Fedor wants to be at the top of everything. And so, in order to get there, why would anybody waste their time with playing a really lower rated player? I mean, people say that all the time. Why would I play you when I could play this guy? I mean, I love John Mora. Right, I love the guy. He's one of my very good friends in the pool room, in the pool world. I was staking him when he was young, but I think John and I'd be a great match. And he, I'm calling him out. He's like, why would I play you when I can play this guy, and this guy? But meanwhile, I mean, I see the ability he has and the heart that he has. I was different, I guess, coming up. I chased people like that guy. I don't know what his name is, but I just that's what they're there you go. But that's what they're doing with Fedor, right? It's going to be a good challenge for him. I guarantee you he learns a ton. and I guarantee you this match is going to be very tough, right?
All right, so give me your prediction, Scott. Who wins? And
I'm
what's
not.
your
I
score?
can't. I can't predict. I
We got to
can't
put you on the
predict.
spot here, Scott. That's what we're here
Yeah, but I
for.
really can't. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I can't say I know what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen. You can. How are you going to predict something when you're playing on tough equipment and playing a guy that's potentially going to be the greatest player to ever walk the face of the planet, especially in this era? So I can't predict. What am I going to get up here and say? I'm
I
going to
think
beat him. I'm going to beat him 21-6.
it makes for bulletin board material. You know that's all it is. But no, I
No,
listen. I think it's a great compliment coming from you. And
yeah,
one thing that I like about you is the lack of bullshit that comes from your mouth when it comes to saying what you think about a player. It's all fine to go and play maybe the game plan card or give somebody respect, but I I know you got a lot of respect for the kid genuinely and sincerely, and rightfully so, and not just from what his abilities are or his upside is on the table, but how he carries himself. And I think that's a big part of why
yeah.
people love to watch Fedor go and play. But I got to tell you, as much as I love watching One Pocket, the only thing that has me, I don't want to say concerned as a fan, but that I'm a little worried about is Fedor's pace of play and playing a long set like this because he's very deliberate and he likes to think things through. And that part of it's kind of got me on the fence a little bit.
It'll be interesting to see if I mean, but here's another thing. People, if people, and I know the Sword Brothers are watching this, and listen, the guys, if I get the balls up table, it's not like I'm guaranteed to win those games. That's absolutely ridiculous. The guy's cue ball is so good, it's unbelievable. It's
It
not
really
like
is.
he's just going to sell shots out, right? Now, could he get frustrated? I mean, he's used to a different life, right? He's used to a little, but that's why he's doing this, right? I mean, that's why he's doing it. He
He
handled
wants to
himself
test himself, right?
absolutely. Why wouldn't he? And he handled himself really well versus Alex Calderon. Alex Calderon had him beat, and there's props to another guy, Alex Calderon. I mean, that guy's up table game and mid game. His all around game is absolutely amazing, and it's really underrated. But he had Fedor beat, and they played over 5 hours. I think they played almost 6 hours to like
Alex is a grinder,
4 in the morning.
man.
And Fedor composed himself. He did lose composure somewhere in there, right? I watched every inch of that match. I bet on that match. I bet on Fedor. But he gained it back. So I don't look for that, right? Like I'm not expecting Fedor to lose his cool, or that's not even in the cards.
One of my favorite matches from going to Derby a few years back that nobody ever saw was on a side table, and it was early on in the One Pocket. It was a Scott Frost versus an unknown Josh Filler. Why I say unknown, I mean unknown in One Pocket, Josh Filler. And it ended up going, I believe it was Hill Hill with you winning. So you got, and I know it's race to three, so I don't want to give it too much weight. But you got a little bit of experience playing these straight shooting Europeans. So I'm really intrigued with this matchup. Um, I think it's going to be a lot of fun because you got an aggressive style of play, and as much as 4 1/4, maybe you can say will play into his favor as a pure pocketer of balls. It can play into your favor because you can still
Sure,
run them out pretty good too, and we all
sure,
know you got the edge when it comes to moving, Scott. So,
sure.
um, but on the note of a story, I wanted you to tell the fans about a cool story that I remember way back when a few months ago. And if you see this picture over here on the top right, it's of a Shane Van Boning playing Chang Jun Lin uh, last year, I think it was, and you had your hand in it just a little bit, if I remember right, of you messaging Shane, and I wanted you to tell that story if you don't mind.
Damn, I didn't expect that. Um, Boy, you're really putting me on the spot. He was down pretty good in that match, right?
It was, yeah.
Do you remember what he was down? He was down over. It was double digits for sure.
It was, I want to say, right in that like dozen range, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
Well, Shane and I are good friends. I mean, but we go for periods without talking, and then we'll talk every day. It's just the way the lives are. He's always traveling, whatever. But I bet quite a bit of money on him that set, and he is in a position in his life where at times, and he's probably going to hate this, but he's teeter-tottering with the fact that pool might not be for him for the rest of his life, right?
Right.
We all get to that point, like in our lives. And he was at a point mentally in that match where he was never going to play another big money match. Like, he was literally at that point, and we all get there. You know, I've got to say, I got to be careful what I say. I don't want to upset anybody, but he was in a bad spot mentally, and I got some texts from him in the middle of the match that were something I'd freaking say, you know, at my age, and I'm like, man, and you know, it's nice to have somebody on the outside at that level, and so I sent him a message, and I just called him out. I basically told him, I said, listen, dude, are you serious? This is who you are? I asked him if that's who he is, and I said some other really choice things to him, you know, that were true, right? And he probably didn't like it, but that was my whole point, right? I didn't want him to like it. I wanted to upset him because it was true. And then I started seeing a change in his behavior and on the table. I said,
You
you're
lit a
going to
fire
get
under
another
his
chance.
ass.
Huh?
You lit a fire under his ass.
Yeah. I said, you're going to get another chance, whether you like what I say or not. It's up to you what you do when you get that chance. And he stopped replying to me. And when he stopped replying to me, I had a feeling like things were going to change. I think my dogs might be killing my cat. I don't know if you can hear them right now.
I can hear him. It's fine. You're
Okay.
good. Yeah.
But I started to see a change, and he got that shot, right? And then things just kind of changed. The energy changed, and you know, Shane's not a very vocal person, but I guarantee you, I guarantee you, it helped. And we all need that sometimes, right? We all.
He said as much. He gave you credit. I remember after the match was over with, and I've asked him about it.
Oh, he did?
He did, yeah. And I asked him about it. Since then, I don't remember exactly when, but it was after, of course, obviously. But you did more for him than maybe you give yourself credit, you know. And I thought it was a really great story. And at that point, I mean, hell, it was late. And I want to just ask you, because when that happens, Shane comes back and ties it up, and it's late. You know, I forgot what time it was, but it was well after 3 o'clock in the morning. And I want to know, what was your thought going into them saying we'll finish up the next day?
I didn't like it. But I couldn't say anything. At that point, he'd gotten over the curve, right, or over the hump, and I didn't want to bring him back down. So I didn't say anything, but I didn't like it at all, because now Chang, I'm starting to remember that match very well now. And Chang was a beat man. He was really defeated over there, right? They kept panning the camera to him, and the guy could barely move, right? So I didn't like it, but it turned out for the best. And Shane knows himself better than I do. Me starting over and playing the next day, I might not have been able to get out of bed, but Shane's in a different position. So he must have known that he had something else for this guy. And it just gave him that new step of life that he needed. And the next day, he played phenomenal.
I remember asking him in Vegas that very question, and he just said nobody wanted me to play him the next day. They wanted me to go and finish him that night. He said, but I knew I had him. I knew he was done.
And I remember that.
And he says it with such confidence, you know, which was just mind-blowing. I mean, it's easy now after he already goes back and wins convincingly, but I believe it, though.
Yeah, I believe it, too. Like, it happens to all players, top players. Something goes off in your head, and it's impossible to explain, but I'm sure he was in that position, obviously, right? He was at a point during that match where I'm just going to say it, where he felt like he couldn't beat Chang. You know, he felt like he couldn't beat him anymore, and that
it looked like Chang was just going to keep on steamrolling him, and then it switched. How physically taxing is it, Scott, when you're going and playing these matches that maybe fans don't really know?
Yeah. Well, the last match Chip and I played really took a lot out of me. And I've got nobody to blame but myself, because when we debated that match, I pushed for a race to 40. He pushed for a race to 27, and I pushed. But it takes a lot out of you, man. Now it's just so wild how times change. You know, I used to. Anybody that's old school and remembers me, I never went to bed, and I wasn't on speed or anything like that. I was just an animal, and I just kept going, kept playing, play. But now these matches are taxing. Everything from the preparation, the hype, the social media crap, which I've toned mine down a ton. But it all plays a role, and it all takes a toll on you. It does, and I think this match, I think the race here favors me because I think we could play a race to 65, and it's probably not going to affect that kid like it's going to affect me, right? Oh, well, I know it's not. So I think the race to 21 is a little better. It's kind of a run and gun. And when I've got that pressure on me and I know that I have to finish quickly, I tend to play a little better, right? Even though I hate putting that type of pressure on myself. So it's going to be taxing. And I don't know. I don't know. Another reason I can't discuss what I think the outcome is going to be is I don't know what's going to happen to begin with, right? I shut the fireworks lot down on the 5th. I fly out the morning of the 6th. I play the 8th. So I've got a time change I've got to deal with. I'm absolutely beat right now. I'm absolutely beat. And the sun just keeps punishing me every day, and it's getting worse and worse. So, I don't really know, but I know it's taxing.
It'll be a lot of fun to go and watch at the very least. And I know fans are excited for it. It's been a little bit of a buzz, and I like that it's very it's untraditional when it comes to players because we've seen a lot of the same old matchups, and it's hard to kind of get people excited. I want to kind of put you on the spot here, Scott. Where do you see yourself in the one pocket game? If you were to go and take Dennis and Bustamante out, where would you put yourself in the top five?
I'm not going to answer that question, Mikey. No, no, no. No, 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 no,
Well,
no, no, no.
well, we tried. We tried
No,
anyway.
yeah. I mean, you know my opinion on that. I mean, I can name so many players, and it all depends on how they're playing that day or how they've performed over a series of time. And I don't know, and also, I did mention to you off camera, I went through a long period where every derby I would get on the microphone and say anybody can play for up to 100,000, and this went on at the old derby and then the new venue for a few years until Alex started punishing me. But this is back when I was beating Alex and Efren, and nobody else would play. But that was at the tail end of no social media. And now, I mean, I know there's this whole new, or at least I feel like there's this whole new world of pool fans that have come on. And I think it's awesome. That's great. We need all the pool fans we can get. But a lot of them didn't see what I did and went through when I was in my prime. And so it's different now. I'm 46. Sometimes I have to really force myself to go to the pool and hit balls. I'm in this like constant battle of, do I love the game? Do I hate the game? Do I even want to play? I could be doing this. I could be doing that. I love business, right? I love doing different things in business. I mean, business, it intrigues me big time. I love making money outside of pool.
Yeah, but we've seen you have successes recently, Scott. I mean, I know we mentioned you losing Hill to Chip, but I mean, hell, you were up 9 games on Chip. We saw you get second at Buffalo's last year. So there's a
I
lot
just
of
won the
things
U.S.
that
Open. I just won the U.S.
yeah,
Open Banks.
yeah, I know. Like, I mean, there's a lot of relative success, current success when it comes to Scott Frost's pool game still.
Yeah. The struggle, though, is within, I guess. That's the battle. It's within me, right? Is like, it's different, right? I've got like 265,000 miles on an 80-mile. I mean, I've got so many miles on my body from pool, and it all just becomes a blur. And at some point, you just want to take this huge, deep breath and leave it all behind you and say, that was fun. I want to do this now. I mean, that's just kind of how I've always been wired, right? There was a point where I stopped absolutely loving the game for different reasons. Probably, you know, there's a pebble thrown at the wall here, then a stone thrown at the wall here, then a boulder thrown at the wall here, and after a while, that wall starts to give a little bit, and that, I think that happens in every sport. It does happen in every. I know it
Father,
happens in every sport.
yeah, I mean, Father Time's undefeated. There's
Right.
just there's no outrunning that. But like I said, one thing that just really gets me up for this match is both y'all's current successes. We've seen Fedor, obviously, even though he's had a limited schedule or kind of handcuffed a little bit. We've seen you do well over the last couple of years and playing one pocket, more importantly, right?
Yep.
Um, I know there's been a lot of things going on, a lot of changes in the industry, Scott. And I know you had some opinions on them.
Definitely.
I wanna get your thoughts on the recent announcement of Predator tables and being introduced to the Q Sports International events going on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I did mention to you, in your defense, that I did want to kind of speak on that, and not that it matters, not that I'm even a factor in any of this, and I know I'm not. But where it does come in for me is I've had relationships with some of the giants in the industry for 20, oh, geez, oh my, I don't even want to go there. Probably close to 30 years now.
You're aging yourself, my man.
I'll first say, I mean, I hope whatever I say, I don't offend anybody, because that's not what I'm trying to do. And I think change in business is a constant. That's one thing that people need to understand, is that if something levels out, something else is probably going to come on. Change is constant. Nobody likes it. I think that some things could have been handled differently. I do know. I mean, I did reach out to Karim, and I'm going to tell you right now, the guy's a badass, right? He's a marketing machine. He's smart. Seems like he's respectful. I really don't know him. We've probably spoke a time or two. I've reached out to him a few times and he's not responded. Just want to pick his brain, and I had a little input for him. But going back to that, then, I was part of the conception of the diamond table, right? I really was. And I spoke to Greg Sullivan yesterday for 45 minutes to an hour. Then I spoke to Ivan with Simonis and Aramith for 45 minutes to an hour, back to back. Spoke to both of them. And I don't know that either one of them watched the podcast. I think one of them might have, and it doesn't matter. I've got to be careful what I say. I told them, they both know that I was coming on here. I feel like Predator probably could have come to Diamond, since they were kind of working hand in hand with a lot of events. I feel like they could have come to Diamond to work with them and make a model of the table. That's neither here nor there. That's not happened at this point. I just am obviously partial. I'm partial to the diamond table. I'd heard Karim mention the shelves are going to be more shallow on these tables. And now I haven't talked to any pros, and I've not played on a single Predator table, so I'm not going to make any judgment on that at all. But I can tell you, when you shallow the shelf of a table, the more you miss a ball, the easier it goes. The closer the ball gets to that pocket, the easier it's going to fall. I mean, that's common sense. Right. A beautiful thing about the diamond table, and there's not much wrong with the diamond table. I mean, there is, like, in my opinion, constructually, there's probably one thing, and that's a center stabilizer to hold that slate from allowing gravity to take hold over time. And I've told them that for years. But I think that if you shallow the shelves on these Predator tables, and I'm not saying that's a big deal. I've got other things, but that's going to affect one pocket tremendously if those tables were to become abundant. And that's a real possibility. These guys are obviously looking to take over, and let's just call it what it is. In 5 years, there could be a possibility of diamond going away, or maybe diamond getting bigger. That's what happens, right? One comes, the other one. But I also think that Predator's biting off a lot. I respect them for it. I think they're just biting off a lot. We know how many tables they have to come with. They have to come with like 300 and some tables by August. It's a big undertaking what they're doing. Am I against it? No, I'm not against it. I am not against it. I just think that some things could be handled differently. I do know that Aramith balls are still in the mix. Okay, they're still working with Predator because it's so hard to make the perfect pool ball, and there's very few people in this world that can do it. The Predator cloth, I'm not real big about. I'm not going to discuss it. I don't know much about it, but I've talked to some people, and I hope that they get that ironed out. No pun, but I just think that I think it could be a good time. I think it could be a good time for both companies, and I hope that another pool table comes out that is as of quality as the diamond. The consistency of a diamond is very hard to beat. It's very hard to beat. The problem with the diamond table over time is that the table in the center has no real stability to support the sag of the slate. And so you end up with what's called like a soup bowl issue where the balls are all kind of rolling in. Now, not major, very slight, and can be fixed with some tweaking. But the consistency of the rails and the consistency of the way the tables bank, how deep the pockets are, and how you can take the balls out. Now, I know they're focused more on rotation, so really I can't speak a lot any further as far as that. I can't speak really heavily on anything past that. I think that change is good in business. I know that Diamond's done some things, and I'm going to say it like it is. Diamond's done some things that could have been avoided, in my opinion. I think that they should have probably. I mean, the market for the diamond table at one point was absolutely insane, and they could have ran more shifts. They could, they could have ramped up their production. They could have done this. They could have done that. But Greg, on the other hand, Greg Sullivan has always been an amazing person in the industry. Greg's a good friend of mine, and he really took the players' advice. Like, he was dead serious about it. He would look you in the eye and just follow you around, asking you what you think of this, this, and this. And I'm talking, 15, 20 years ago. And he would go back to the drawing board and redraw it up and do this. He was talking to Shannon Dalton. He was talking to Alex. He was talking to all these top guys, Brumback, And so I just hope that whatever happens comes a good product of it, a real good product of it, right? And I think that's a tall order. I think it's a tall order, and I wish them the best. And I hope it works.
I think it's difficult when you have a standard like Diamond in your on the forefront. And one thing that I really appreciated from talking with Ozzy and Karim was the respect that they gave to the Diamond table, and
yes,
and fans from
yes,
all over the country, the same way. I think Diamond's the standard for a lot of people, and rightfully so. They've earned that reputation. But I also feel like competition's great. Keeps
it
everybody
is.
on it keeps everybody on their toes. Um, Nobody knows what the market's going to go and do, right? But I like that there's competition. There's plenty of business to
Agreed.
go around. People are adding pool tables to their homes and businesses more than ever these days. I know
Yes,
times are a little tough, so going and adding on a big skew like a pool table into your um, uh, onto your selection is a little scary these days because life is coming at us quick. And Scott just, oh, there you are. You kind of you dipped out a little bit. Let me see. Your connection
so I
kind of.
can't hear you.
Oh, there you are. Can you hear me now,
Hold
Scott?
on.
How about now, my man?
I'm good. I had to decline the call.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good deal. But yeah, I think. Listen, I think it's a new day, and I'm
Agreed.
excited for it. And I like that there's more companies doing more things, offering new product. I like when people go and work together, but I also like when there's healthy competition as well. So I'm excited to go and see what comes of it. I know that uh, people are always going to be skeptical when there's new things coming out, and
Sure.
people are I don't want to say afraid of change because that's not the right word. But when you have something that works as good as a diamond table has, people are just going to be a little leery to go and want to play on something else. And
And I think Karim's out to prove different, right? I really do believe that he believes he can make the greatest table in the world, and I think that's great,
sure,
right? When I say it could have been handled a little differently, I guess I shouldn't say that in those terms, right? I would like to talk to Karim at some point. If you give him my number, or if he ever has a chance to talk with me, I'd love to talk to him for a minute. I've got a little bit of input on those lights, right? I think there's an issue with the Predator light. I'm just being honest. I think there's a big issue with it. I think there's too many shadows. You have no lighting coming from the center, so you got that outside lighting. The lights look awesome. They work great, but there's a lot of odd shadows on those lights. And I've talked to, there's not actually one top player I've talked to that disagrees with that. But I'd love to talk to Karim. I think he's a class act. I love the fact that they gave Diamond such good credit, right? They did. They gave him credit where it was deserved. So did Ozzy. Ozzy gave him uploads of credit. So I thought that was classy. I mean, they're handling it the right way as far as publicly, right? So I think that's the best you can do. And change is, from my aspect, I know business really well. So I think change is always a good thing in a lot of ways. And I compare it to the LIV tour in pro golf. I really do. The only difference is pool players aren't getting paid hundreds of millions.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a pretty there's a
but
pretty big
there's a
difference there.
but there's
But
a
I
giant
understand the
coming in
premise
over
though.
the top, right?
Yeah, and one thing that like I can say from what I've observed privately is that at least Karim is open to like receiving that feedback, right?
I would hope.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, just as far as like him actually listening to you, where I've known, and I've seen other people that are just so dead set that their decisions and um, their game plan is gold, and you're never gonna go and talk them out of it, and it's so hard to fade those people. And I can say with sincerity that that has not been the experience that I've had with either one of them. And Ozzy, to his credit as well, one thing that whenever I spoke to both of them, and I've said this on a previous podcast, whenever I get done with them or before we start, they always tell me, Mike, you can ask me whatever you want.
Anything. Yeah.
I don't care what
Yeah.
the question is or how hard it is. You can ask me whatever you want, and I'm not going to take it personally. And not everybody's like that, you
No,
know, and,
you're right.
and because there's a lot of people that just say hell no, or don't ask me like that, or I just I've dealt with a lot of people in this industry. I think their intentions are great, and I got a lot
I
of
do too.
respect for them. But I listen. The one thing that if you're in Diamond or Aramis corner that you got to love is the amount of love that they received over the last few days when this announcement was made, because their fans were coming out in droves, just completely praising their product. So there's a lot of good takeaways from both sides of it. It's an exciting day,
It is.
and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where the game's going to go. I want to just circle back, Scott, and I want you to just let everybody know. We'll finish off where we started off. How can fans go and watch your exciting one pocket match coming up, and where can they purchase the pay per view from?
Well, thank you to Mike Hong and Phil, MMP Phil, but it's going to be on omegabilliards.com. And that's on Facebook. You can also go to the website, omegabilliards.com. I don't even know the exact start time. I can't see the details on that flyer, but we play July 8th through the 10th, and it will be at Rail Yard Billiards in, I'm not even sure if it's in Louisville, but
I
it's
think
going to be,
it's in Louisville. Is that Fedor's new homeroom? Like,
yeah,
is he that?
yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
Oh, so you're
So,
going into his room then?
yeah,
I like it. I
yeah,
like it.
yeah.
More of a storyline there.
Yes, and then I wanted to thank Kyle with Rail Yard Billiards because he's doing a lot for us two players as well. Thanks to the Sword Brothers. Thank you to my man Tony Bloom and Julie Bloom. Right, those guys have had a huge role in my comeback playing pool, and I do call it a comeback because I went for 3 years without playing one real competitive event, pretty much. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. And I want to make it clear. I think this table situation is a positive thing. That's why I haven't commented online. You won't see me posting or commenting, but I just want to make that clear. I'm not bashing anybody behind closed doors. I don't see anything wrong with clean, healthy competition. But I'm looking forward to this match with Fedor, and I think it's a breath of fresh air to the one pocket fan group out there. I really do. I think that people that play rotation need to watch a little of this match as well.
I think they will, Scott. I really do, because Federer brings a different dynamic. Just like whenever you have Shane coming in and playing one pocket, you're going to get a different group of fans that are going to be able to go and watch, or that are going to be excited to go and watch the game, which I think will just grow one pocket in general, which is all a good thing for everybody. It takes a lot of guts to go and play what many would go and consider the best player on earth, because I think there's a lot of people who go and think that Federer is the number one player right now. So you got all my respect in the world. And one thing I really appreciate about you is your honesty, but more importantly, the way you go and deliver it, because you tell stories very well. And I'm always a big fan. So I want to get you out of here on this. What's going to be the score?
It's probably 31-32.
I like it. Scott, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll see everybody real soon, man. Thanks a lot for tuning
Thanks,
in, you guys.
Mikey.